Hello my friends, welcome to Poetry Changes Lives. Poetry, history and a thought for the day. Day after day I sit and give out a dose of this, and it does me, it's a dose, a tonic for me, and I hope for some of you too. I just find putting a bit of poetry in my head makes me happy. And there's a lovely sonnet today I'm going to read that has a lot of honesty and truth in it, and it was written by a very sad person, but that's the way it goes sometimes. Poetry is written by people who are trying to deal with strong emotions quite often. PoetryChangesLives.com is the website. You can read all about it. Get the book there if you wish. Sign up for a daily reading, daily dose of poetry and history if you want. Let me demonstrate. On this day in 1561, I'm talking about Mary, Queen of Scots. What a wonderful historical figure she is, a gift to historians, writers of all kind, poets. She was a poet herself. On this day, she arrived back in Scotland after 13 years living at the court of France. She'd been betrothed at a young age to the Dauphin, the heir to the King of France, and he died tragically young before he reached the age of 20, I think. Otherwise, what a great, if he had become King of France in the 16th century, France was the dominant power in Europe. It would have made France and Scotland a real powerhouse. And it all went terribly wrong. And Mary, Queen of Scots, if nothing else, was a bit of an unlucky queen. A lot of her misfortunes were of her own doing, but she couldn't help the way events happened as well. But having said that, of course, she was very badly advised. When she came back to Scotland, I think her head was full of modern European power politics, and she just put the Scots, she set them up the wrong way. They were, from the start, they were sort of annoyed by her attitude. And of course, she let herself be governed by her own emotions into marrying for love. And as a monarch, you can't do that, unfortunately. But she married her first cousin, Lord Darnley, and I think it was a love match. But of course, he was a bit of a rogue, ended up getting murdered in mysterious circumstances. Then she had sort of unwise liaisons with people like her Italian secretary, Rizzio. Eventually, she was pursued by another rogue noble, the Lord Bothwell, who was an absolute scoundrel, ended up at war with her own subjects, was imprisoned in Scotland and escaped to England to the mercy of her cousin, Queen Elizabeth I, the cold Queen of England, as she was known throughout Europe. Any idea that Elizabeth might have been kind to poor Mary was quickly scotched. Mary spent the rest of her life in various castles as a prisoner in England until she was eventually executed by Elizabeth for plotting against her. Elizabeth just had to get rid of her. Poor Mary, a tragic end to a life that had started so bright and beautifully at the greatest court in Europe, the court of France. Well, sometimes disaster happens like that. Mary was a very competent writer and poet. She wrote some beautiful sonnets, and I'm going to read one now. It's called Que suis-je, hélas? She wrote in French quite often, and this one's translated into English. Que suis-je, hélas, of course, means, alas, what am I? Here we are. Alas, what am I? What use is my life? I am but a body whose heart's torn away, a vain shadow, object of misery, who has nothing left but death in life. O my enemies, set your envy all aside. I've no more eagerness for high domain. I've borne too long the burden of my pain to see your anger swiftly satisfied. And you, my friends, who have loved me so true, remember, lacking health and heart and peace, there is nothing worthwhile that I can do. Ask only that my misery should cease, and that, being punished in a world like this, I have my portion in eternal bliss. Well, that's a sonnet written by a sad person, a person who's been disappointed by life, who recognizes that they had played a part in their own misfortunes, but also very regretful that events didn't turn out better, but also a person who's clung on to their own faith in God. And one thing you can say about Mary, for all her mistakes, she remained a staunch Roman Catholic through all her troubles. And gosh, of course that would have annoyed the Scots, annoyed Queen Elizabeth, both very Protestant, anti-Catholic organisations, the English court and the Scottish government at that time. So Mary had set herself up for a lot of instant enemies, really. Nevertheless, we spare a thought for her, executed still at quite a young age. Today I ask help for all those who are in prison, whatever the reason. Thanks for listening. I wish you all a good day.